confidently steps forward and introduces herself as Ellis of House Vert. This girl loves announcing her name. One of the knights spots Erin and celebrates her survival. Meanwhile, Lunav struggles to get up, assuring everyone she'll recover soon. She warns that the next attack will start any moment and that they need to escape. The knights step forward, vowing to protect the princess. The nobles behind them are all begging for victory, but Erin tells them not to worry. She will give everything. She has to stop the enemy. She has realized that no matter how many times they kill him, the enemies keep reappearing. It's as if they're tracking something among them. What could it be? Nothing suspicious about that necklace around your neck, right, Erin? Back with Emily, a behemoth enters the room. She pleads with Yelkin to do something or they'll die. But Yelkin can't understand why high-level monsters are appearing in the Empire. Still, after being protected so many times by Xian, it's his turn to protect someone. The only problem is that Emily is clinging to him way too tightly. The behemoth roars and Yelkin tells her to back off. The creature charges to attack and he manages to block with his sword. He's excited, thinking he might handle this, until he gets hit by a series of blows. Emily asks if he's sure, and he insists he will protect them. The creature lunges to bite both of them. Yelkin, seeing no way out, apologizes to San, but the behemoth takes a punch to the face and crashes to the ground. Yelkin is shocked and Emily asks what that was. Of course you already know. Nana is transforming back, revealing her true form. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the castle, assassins continue attacking Erin. The knights are dealing with some while the others handle the rest. The problem is, it doesn't seem to end, and whoever orchestrated this planned it exceptionally well. At this rate, the Megs will soon start to fall. Erin realizes she needs to find another solution. That's when one of the knights gets slashed across the face and their mask falls to the ground. Ellis realizes they are fighting puppets or undead controlled by magic. She starts thinking about the most efficient way to deal with dark magic. The first thing that comes to mind is the holy magic of Lumendo's light. She knows there's only one way to do this. She calls out to Erin and asks her to bless her sword with light magic. Erin hesitates, explaining that this would remove the knight's protection. The knights tell her not to worry, they'll hold the line for as long as they can. For as long as they can probably means they'll die the second she lifts the magic, but oh well. Now Elisa's sword glows brightly with the blessing. Combining elements like she did with Lunav was challenging, but combining magic with a spiritual art is much easier. It takes time, but she finally prepares to give it her all with this strike. Meanwhile, I wonder where Xian is. He better be doing something really important. And there he is, cutting down puppets and mandrakes. Our dear Xian knows this is all tied to Eshel somehow. He's convinced Boris has started working under Eshel's influence. Karam comments that he never thought humans with this level of necromancy still existed. Xian explains that the person who enjoys this kind of magic also has another favorite method, using stones from fortified creatures to create new monsters. Karam mentions feeling that magic emanating from a certain direction. Xian notes that the place is a bloody mess, but before resolving it, he needs a change of clothes. Meanwhile, Elise is channeling immense power. Lunav recognizes it as the spirit of Miriam. She's baffled as to how Ellis summoned it. Magic and spiritual power are extremely unstable. She warns that Ellis needs to stop or her body won't withstand it. Miriam places her hand on Elise's head and asks why she's in such a hurry. She remarks it's a pity for a child blessed by Pruwina to face such a cruel fate. She prepares her arms and declares she's extremely irritated. With a single gesture, she creates an explosion, forcing everyone to back away. Erin is awestruck by the sheer power in such a simple movement. The problem is, as assassins are killed, others are reanimated. Erin pleads with Ellis to stop before she ends up dying alone. But Ellis knows she must finish this before things get worse. She resolves to make the most of the spiritual invocation. She prepares an attack using all the power of the Spirit King. But suddenly, someone grabs her arm. The goddess pauses for a moment, leaving Ellis confused. No one knew who that person was. Who could this mysterious figure be? Elise wonders who this entirely different kind of puppet might be, and she has no idea what this black mist surrounding them is. The problem is that she can't move or even pull her hand away. Xian stands still while his aura envelops her. The goddess then tells her it's time to say goodbye. It seems her journey will end today. Xian releases Elisa's arm and she collapses to the ground, trying to understand what kind of mist this is. As the goddess fades away, she tells Elise to remember she's always welcome in Pruwina. Erin is still confused, and Lunav comments that the figure blocked Elise's spirit manifestation. The assassins begin advancing again. Poor Elise now unable to defend herself. But don't worry, there's a cool-headed guy around to take care of everything. Now Erin realizes the man in front of them isn't an enemy. Xian continues cutting down enemies until he pauses for a second. As he suspected, the creatures seem to be following the scent of something coming from the princess. He asks Karam if she senses anything unusual in the area. Karam mentions sensing something magical from Lunav. Xian asks for something else, and Karam finally says there's a magical creature's energy emanating from the princess's necklace. He tells her he'll need her help as he moves forward. Xian slams the ground, creating a spatial distortion. A domain of mist begins spreading outward. The puppets start disintegrating into smoke, and the knights are alarmed as the space around them shifts. As the creatures attempt to advance, they become trapped in the ground and seem to die. Elise notices the mist is consuming the puppets. In a matter of moments, the entire area falls silent, as if nothing had happened. Erin is puzzled at how someone can handle so many creatures at once. That's when she notices Lunav on the ground. Just as she considers helping her, Xian appears behind her. Everyone turns to address the princess, but she already has a knife to her neck. Erin feels a strange familiarity with this mysterious figure. He strikes the necklace, risky even its location on her neck. Everyone screams for the princess, but suddenly he vanishes. He reappears beside Lunav and Erin panics. She orders him to step back and casts a light ray. The attack hits him directly, but he merely turns into mist. Xian then leaves a message telling everyone not to worry because he has no ill intentions. He assures them that the creatures won't follow anyone anymore since the jewel has been destroyed. He instructs everyone to head to the front entrance, which he has already cleared. A knight approaches Erin, asking if she's unharmed. She's more focused on figuring out who that person was but reassures him that she's fine. She then asks about Ellis and Lunav. Both are getting up, and Ellis suggests they hurry to the entrance. She decides to figure out who the stranger was later. For now, the priority is saving the girls. However, Lunav, with her magical sensitivity, seems to recognize Mr. Xian. Back with Nana, the behemoth lies defeated on the floor. Emily is trembling, questioning whether Nana could truly be a maid. Yelkin admits he has no idea since Nana has never done anything like this before. Not only has she killed the creature, but she was also devouring it. In Shan's past life, rumors surrounded the banquet's true purpose. Many believe it was orchestrated by Princess Erin, desperate to inherit the throne. But now Xian understands that the necklace given to her by Eshel was part of a grand scheme. Together with the prince, Eshel eliminated the creatures and became hailed as heroes of the empire. In the end, they were the ones who benefited the most from this incident. Karam asks if Xian is suggesting those two planned everything. Sacrificing so many lives for something like this makes her think humans are worse than demons. Shan responds that this is only the beginning. He adds that he's not much different, having participated in numerous massacres in his past life. Karam then asks if he's leaving already. He says yes, as Nana must be waiting for him. The Imperial Knights should be able to handle the rest. Karam mentions something that's been bothering her. Our boy asks what it is. She says the smell from the princess's necklace matches the one Emily brought. Back in the room, Nana comments on a delicious scent coming from Emily. Emily panics, insisting she isn't as good as she seems. Meanwhile, Yelkin can't understand why Nana has suddenly turned into a monster. Worse, she's trying to kill Emily for some unknown reason. He needs to stop her somehow, but he can't bring himself to raise his sword against her. Nana leaps, shouting that she can't control herself. Yelkin closes his eyes, unable to find a solution. A solution? Cyan steps in and takes a hit to the back. Karam sneaks behind Emily, and Cyan tells her to resolve the situation quickly. Karam removes the necklace and throws it to the ground. Before Emily can react, Karam crushes it underfoot. Karam commands Nana to wake up and return to reality, reminding her that her lord is there. Slowly, Nana reverts, confused about what just happened. She sees the destruction on the boy's back and asks if she caused it. Shan reassures her, saying it's fine, it doesn't hurt, and it wasn't her fault. However, she collapses to the ground in tears, crying that she didn't want to do this. Yelkin and Emily are at a loss for words, while Cheyenne simply tells them they should leave since the place is in chaos. Meanwhile, Prince Sevelis is wondering what's going on. The hallways were supposed to be swarming with monsters, but there's no sign of them. The king comments that the creatures have vanished, and Sevelis celebrates, saying they're incredibly lucky. However, Eshel has already noticed that something is off. That's when they hear someone calling for their father. It's Erin and her group emerging safely. From Eshel's clenched jaw, it's clear he's not pleased. Erin embraces her father, expressing her relief that he's safe. She then notices her brother Lunel standing nearby. The king explains that it's thanks to Lunel and Eshel that they were able to stay safe. Sevelis comments that it's good to know Erin didn't die. Erin responds that she feels the same way. Though she has many questions for him, she knows this isn't the time. The knights approach to protect Erin and pay their respects to the king, who thanks them for safeguarding his daughter. Erin glances over and notices Eshel whispering something to Sevelis. She knows they're planning something. Suddenly, Sevelis turns and places his sword against Lunav's neck. He declares that he's certain who's behind all this. It must be the granddaughter of the Grandmaster of the Academy of Sorcery. He announces that from now on, she's under arrest. Elise is baffled, unable to understand what the prince is thinking, while Eshel remains silent. The king and Erin orders Sevelis to lower his sword, demanding to know what he's doing. But the prince argues that the situation is clear. The kingdom of Garen orchestrated this to bring down Usif. He claims Lunav was sent to create chaos and assassinate the Marquis. Lunav questions what evidence he has to support such accusations. Eshel suddenly mentions sensing strange magic near their location yesterday. The king asks if this is true and demands an explanation. Sevelis states they invited her in good faith but have always kept an eye on her. And with the evidence they have, it was only a matter of time before the truth came to light. The king acknowledges this and tells them to handle it. Sevelis assures him that they will. Poor Lunav realizes she's fallen into a trap. She wonders if this was part of her grandfather's plan. Lunav and the others from the Garan Academy are arrested. Meanwhile, Rezimus, who had been separated from the group during the battle, is with the noble knights. The next day, a funeral is held in the capital for all those who died in the massacre. Although Shan significantly reduced the death toll compared to his past life, the day is still remembered as the Bloody Banquet. Sometime later, Elise is applying bandages to Shan. Shan tells her she doesn't need to, but she insists, saying it's the least she can do. She expresses relief that he managed to escape the monsters, which were incredibly dangerous. She also mentions that if it hadn't been for that man, she wouldn't have survived either, but she's curious about who he was. She remarks that the man was strangely the exact same size as Shan. What a coincidence. She then comments that she's noticed his physique has improved significantly, and for his injuries it's clear he's been training hard. Shan turns away, awkwardly agreeing, and she teases him, asking why he's blushing. Shan dashes off, telling her to stop teasing him. At that moment, Eshel appears, remarking that the two of them are as close as ever. He asks if Shan is alright, who responds that he's fine and thanks him for his concern. Elise notices that Shan seems to be preparing for something. Shan then asks Eshel about the progress of the investigation. Elise wonders if Shan has also picked up on Eshel's unsettling nature, which sends chills down her spine. The blonde man explains that he's there precisely because of the investigation. They found a bracelet in Lunav's room containing one of the stones that attracted the creatures. Lunav had claimed it was a gift. Shan comments that if that's the case, they should focus on tracking down the suspect. Eshel agrees and asks if Shan received any gifts himself. Shan says he doesn't recall receiving anything and asks if they've identified who gave the bracelet to Lunav. Eshel reveals that they believe it was a merchant who frequented the palace, but the merchant was found dead earlier that day. That's why they're working tirelessly to uncover the truth. Eshel presses Shan again, asking if he's absolutely certain he didn't receive anything. Shan knows this isn't a genuine investigation. They're merely looking for someone to pin the blame on. Elsewhere, Emily sits on a bench when a man approaches her. Shan knows she's in danger. Back in the room, someone complains of a headache. It's Shan. Ellis insists he hasn't fully recovered and needs to rest. She tells Eshel that Shan has a back injury and is losing a lot of blood, so he should go to the infirmary. Eshel agrees and excuses himself, but Shan states again that he has no memory of receiving anything. After all, anyone who tried to get close to him wouldn't have survived the massacre. Eshel thanks him for the answer, thinking to himself that he's lucky the girl didn't deliver the item. At least it spares him the trouble of eliminating another person. Yet at the same time, it frustrates him because Shan was supposed to die at the banquet. Alice suddenly calls for our boy Shan and gives him another smack on the back, ordering him to lie down. But then we see blood dripping onto the floor and a maid asks why he's doing this. She says she did everything he asked, delivering the necklace to the princess. She pleads, swearing she won't tell anyone about this. The man replies that this is why her role ends here, and now he must complete his task to finish what's been started. After all this preparation only fills him with anger. He delivers a clean cut and tells her to rest in peace. He pauses, realizing he forgot something. Opening his grimoire, he mutters that he really needs to learn to deal with bodies. Out emerge creatures with countless eyes, which he orders to devour the remains. Looks like someone borrowed a power straight out of a shady librarian's book. Back with Emily, a man approaches and she glances behind her. Oh, relax, it's Yulkin, or rather Brian, bringing her some apples. These people really know how to build suspense. He sits down, commenting on how nice the weather is, but Emily wants to know how much longer they'll stay here. Brian responds that they'll remain until Syan gives the order to return. Oh, it's the moment when Emily handed over Eshel's gift. The moment Shan saw it, he instantly knew what it was. He destroyed it and told Emily to listen carefully. Neither the Imperial City nor House Vert would be safe for her anymore. She was to hide until further instructions were given. He called Brian over, explaining that he was extremely busy and would need him to protect Emily, and of course to look after Nana too. He told them they'd need to stay apart for some time. Now, only after all this do we finally learn that his name isn't Yulkin. It's Brian. Brian is worried, noting that he's never seen Shin smile like that. Emily asks if Nana is okay, and Brian explains that she's having trouble sleeping but seems to be recovering. Emily reflects on how much has happened since Shin arrived in this place. It's wild to think his maid has dragon blood, but this only makes her want to help Shin even more. Brian agrees, mentioning he's been thinking the same. But he's distracted, recalling the moment she grabbed his arm. He's embarrassed, wondering why that moment sticks in his mind. Emily declares that together, they'll do their best for Syan. Brian blushes and smiles, agreeing. The scene shifts to Sevelis questioning his father. He demands to know what he means by this decision. Sevelis insists the evidence is undeniable, and they can't let the suspects slip away. The king, however, calmly tells him to relax, explaining the decision is already made. Sevelis accuses him of being weak, saying he'll never maintain dominance over the continent with this approach. Almost taking a blow to the head, the king sternly orders him to be silent. The king acknowledges Sevelis' ambitions of continental dominance as noble in theory, but he reminds him that the Yusuf Empire borders not just the kingdom of Garen, but also the demon world Espana and Proina. Starting a war with Garen would leave them vulnerable on all fronts. Even if, by some miracle, they conquered the continent, the cost in lives would be astronomical. As emperor, he refuses to choose such a monstrous path. Sevelis, however, persists, claiming clear evidence exists. The king asks if he's referring to the obscuring stone. which catches Severus off guard since he didn't expect the king to know about it. The king remarks that his expression says it all. Since childhood, Severus has never known how to stop when he doesn't get his way. Severus, trembling, denies knowing anything. The king orders him to be quiet, questioning how he's fallen so low. He declares that at this moment, Erin is far more qualified for the throne than Severus. Finally, he commands Severus to leave his presence immediately. Obviously, Severus doesn't take kindly to hearing Erin's name. To him, that accursed child is ruining everything. Outside Erin's room, someone asks what the prince is doing there. The door opens and Regimus steps out, explaining the princess is still recovering. But Severus responds by punching her in the face, knocking her to the ground. Erin confronts him, demanding to know the meaning of this while he laughs maniacally like the Joker. Staring him down, she calmly asks if he's here to see her or if there's something else he wants to hear from her. Severus is suddenly startled. Her aura is different. She doesn't seem like the same person he knew. Erin then declares that maybe he wants to hear that she, Erin Severus, received nothing from her brother. The prince trembles, realizing she knows everything. The scene shifts to the king asking Erin if she's certain she knows nothing about the matter. She confirms. The king explains that the necklace she carried wasn't an ordinary jewel. The stone within it, though rare, originates from a clan of dark magic users. It's something used to attract and control creatures. He's received word from the imperial city that someone secretly purchased this item. The known suspects are the merchant Gilbert and the maid Marilda. However, both are now dead or missing. The king found it odd that both the merchant Gilbert and the maid Marilda had frequent meetings with Severus. He asks Erin again if she's certain she didn't receive anything from her brother. Fiddling with her fingers, she responds calmly, no. She didn't receive anything from Severus. However, she comments that now that they've found the source of these stones, Luna should be released. She asks her father to free the girl who saved countless lives at the banquet. The king agrees and tells her she no longer needs to worry about it. Erin knows that if she reveals Severus was the one behind the necklace, the lives of those around her will become much more dangerous. The king might not execute Severus, meaning he'd remain alive and capable of harming those close to her. And she's tired of standing by while the people she cares about suffer. Back in the present, she asks Severus if he's satisfied with its outcome. He replies smugly that yes, he is. Exactly as she said, he never gave her anything. Erin affirms this, stating that's exactly what she told their father. Severus then questions her tone and suggests that if anyone overhears, they might think he's done something wrong. He mockingly suggests they so shut the mouth of her friend. Erin simply replies that it's unfortunate for him, but she has a visitor now. Severus asks if this person is really so important, and she says, yes, more important than you. Enter Cian, who apologizes for overhearing the conversation. Caught off guard, Severus didn't sense him at all and wonders why he's here. Shin, with his usual aloof demeanor, says he overheard everything. Severus demands to know how long he's been eavesdropping. Shan responds nonchalantly that he doesn't have much presence, so he's been standing there the whole time. Severus snaps, saying he's not in the mood for games and calling Shan bold for speaking to a prince in such a manner. But Shan just calmly asks, and what are you going to do about it? Planning to silence me too. Severus begins to wonder if the rumors about these two being betrothed are true. But realizing the tension, he quickly shifts gears. He knows there's nothing to gain from making an enemy of Cian Vert. Not only is she the daughter of his father's ally, but she also holds Eshel's favor. In a prior conversation with Eshel, Severus had explained that he wanted to eliminate Erin because she was threatening his position on the throne. What he couldn't understand was why Eshel wanted to deal with his own brother, given their father's unwavering trust in him. Eshel's response was chillingly simple, because he bothers me. Eshel was convinced Cian harbored secrets beyond human comprehension. Back in the present, Severus remarks that now he understands what Eshel meant. He doesn't know why, but an immensely powerful aura radiates from this boy. Changing his expression, Severus raises his hands and says it was all a misunderstanding. Now that the confusion has been cleared, he'll take his leave. Shan relaxes a little, noting that Severus isn't entirely depraved yet. He remembers how in the future, Severus would be called a mad emperor, committing acts that would terrify anyone. As he departs, Severus even apologizes to Regimus, who forgives him, asking only that they be more careful in the future. Finally, the door closes. Erin curses her damned brother and thanks Shan. But Shan says it was Erin who handled everything. She smiles and says she only acted confidently because she knew he was nearby. Shan sits down, claiming he's just tired of standing. Erin adjusts her hair nervously, mumbling that it's okay if that's the case. Regimus is baffled that Cian doesn't pick up on the obvious, while she commends how composed he was before the prince. Cian starts to leave, saying that now Severus knows their allies, Erin won't face as many risks. Regimus bids him farewell, realizing that he only came for business and is already gone. The scene shifts to Severus questioning Eshel about what they're going to do next. Severus swears the plan was perfect, but the people they wanted dead are all still alive. Worse, he's lost his father's trust entirely, and to him, he was supposed to be the sacred savior of the empire. A voice cuts in, saying the plan wasn't entirely a failure. It's Boris reporting for duty. He apologizes for the delay, explaining that he was handling a mission for Lord Shelley. Severus mentions hearing that Emily has gone into hiding and asks what this fruit business he referred to is about. Boris admits they underestimated the people surrounding Princess Erin. Severus fumes, accusing Boris of suggesting they should reflect on their actions. Boris apologizes and clarifies, showing a crystal. He explains that it contains the magic used by Erin's allies. Most of it is ordinary, but then a dark mist begins emanating from the crystal. Boris declares this to be an extremely rare and potentially dangerous magic. Some might even call it dark magic. It's the power of a cursed magical blade. Severus is stunned to learn that one of Erin's allies wields something so blasphemous. Meanwhile, we cut to a comical scene of Yelkin staring at a blue creature on a plate. He asked Emily what kind of gratin she said she was making. What's stranger is that Shan and Nana are eating it calmly. Emily cheerfully tells them to take it slow. Yelkin, however, wonders if the food is actually moving. Shan remarks that he's had enough and is full. He apologizes, explaining he has to leave before Eshel discovers this place. He only came to check on the three of them, but the danger is still too great. Shan explains that he's placed people to keep an eye on the house's surroundings, making it the safest place for now. He chuckles, but Emily asks him to promise he'll come back. He reassures her not to worry and instructs Brian to look after the two of them while he's away. Brian, unenthusiastic about the odd food they've been eating, mutters that he'll take good care of them. Outside the house, Surika appears and sarcastically comments about his free time for strolls. She demands an explanation. The bloody banquet, her fiancé's death. How did Cyan know all of this would happen? She warns him to be careful with his answers, as she might end up becoming his enemy. She asks again, who exactly is Cyan Verde? Shin simply replies, why does it matter? The Marquis was already a target. Surika retorts that it matters a great deal, as he could be a spy for another organization. Shan asks what she plans to do if that's the case. She unsheaths her sword, declaring the answer is obvious. She lunges at him, but Karim intercepts the attack. Surika demands to know if Karim will really stand in her way. Karim reminds her of the last time they fought, warning that she won't let anyone touch her master. The two immediately reignite their rivalry, both vowing to defeat the other. Karim conjures a red energy sphere, saying she'll show Surika something interesting. Surika, excited, readies herself, saying she's prepared. Karim unleashes the unyielding black mist, which seems to chase Surika. Surika dismisses it as useless, boasting that she can dodge anything, but the sheer explosion rattles her confidence. She realizes that being hit by it would mean instant death. She admits it's better for Karim to remain in her sword form, as otherwise she could be far deadlier. Karim grins, declaring the warm-up is over, and it's time to get serious. Surika grins back, ready for an all-out fight. Before things escalate further, Xian activates sword manipulation, slamming Karim into the ground. Karim whines, asking to continue her fun, but Cheyenne commands both of them to stop. He reminds them that their commotion undermines the point of his hiding. Surika admits he's right and advises him to relocate. Cheyenne tells them to clean up and closes the door, leaving the two standing there with dumbfounded expressions. Inside, Cheyenne announces a change of plans, instructing everyone to prepare to leave. That's when a voice greets him. It's Lunov. She comments that it seems his family has grown since the last time. Cheyenne, surprised she bypassed the mist barrier, asks how she found them. Lunov explains it's just a simple talent of hers and assures him no one else knows she's there. She asks about the commotion outside, but Shan dismisses it, asking why she's there. Lunov responds that she came to thank him. Shan shrugs, saying he didn't do anything deserving thanks. But Lunov insists she knows everything since the day he entered her. Everyone looks confused, trying to decipher her words. She clarifies she's talking about the aura that entered her when she was unconscious. She demonstrates her ability to summon fire and water, combine them, and modify them. She can even use a form of magic to locate specific people. She proudly asks if he doesn't think this gift from her grandfather is amazing. Shan dryly responds that it seems more like a curse, pointing out her injured body. Luna blushes and accuses him of being the one who entered. Shan ignores her and tells everyone to prepare to leave, saying he'll have a chat with her. Emily eagerly asks where they're going, and Siam replies it's to Ruin Academy. Emily beams with excitement, saying she can now take care of him daily. Ryan, however, looks disappointed, already dreading the food he'll have to endure. Later, Luna reflects on her childhood in cold, dark places, being the subject of painful experiments. She endured it all, believing it was her duty as Rain River's granddaughter. She asks Shan if he feels a similar sense of duty. He bluntly says no. Curious, she questions why he saved everyone but didn't want anyone to know. Shan explains it would only cause more headaches, which she probably understands. Luna pauses, saying she does. She then reveals that when their auras connected, she discovered his magical attribute. At first, she thought it was darkness, but now she isn't sure. She confesses that during their brief contact at the restaurant, she gathered information about him. Shan is surprised, not realizing she could deduce someone's magical attribute through touch. She asserts that on the day she collapsed, he implanted his magic into her. She demands to know what it is, certain it's not of this world. Shan acknowledges her curiosity and asks if she plans to report it to her grandfather. Lunov dispels her magic, saying no, it would only bring more trouble. Shan smirks, asking if she's rebelling against Rain River. Lunav cryptically says he probably understands the reasons. She suddenly hugs him, thanking him for freeing her from a long-standing burden. Shin explains that her body is like a cauldron of flames, filled with magical attributes constantly clashing and mixing. However, someone had placed a sort of cap on her magic. The intention was to prevent her from losing any magic entirely, but it was also causing her power to heat up excessively. What overflowed from this cauldron was slowly extinguishing the flame of her life. All Cyan did was create a hole in that cap. He explains it was because he didn't want her to live as someone else's puppet. Still, he tells her there's no need to thank him. If she has nothing else to say, she can leave and keep their secret. But of course, she shouldn't overexert herself, it would be dangerous. Lunav simply thinks to herself how adorable Cyan is. As she suspected, Cyan is a genuinely good person. Meanwhile, at the Garen Magic Academy headquarters, her grandfather slams the table, demanding to know what they're saying. The butler informs him that Lunav has been exonerated and released. He asks if they should file a petition against the kingdom of Yusuf. The grandfather replies with a resounding no, saying that's not the issue. Instead, he wants to know how she had the audacity to stop anywhere else before returning to him. He declares they must find a like this video that helps. And you guys remember how last chapter ended with that old dude saying it was time to find Luna. Meanwhile, our boy was on the carriage ride back home. He wanted to know why Emily was so excited, and she said it was because she could finally go back to serving him again. She thought it was kind of weird though, right? Especially since she heard that servants weren't allowed at the academy. He explained that the headmaster would probably make an exception for him. But we already saw the headmaster and he made it clear. No way in hell. Our boy tried to argue, saying he'd make sure no one even noticed her and all he really wanted was to bring Emily with him. The headmaster asked for a good reason, and he said he promised not to skip class if she could come. The old man slammed the table and snapped at the brat like, "That's the bare minimum, kid. And what's this about wanting to bring 2 maids? That's even worse." All he wanted to know was whether this had anything to do with the blood banquet. He figured Cian wouldn't ask for something this bold unless it was serious. Just by looking at the kid's reaction, the old man was already sure, and Xian said he'd tell the truth, but only if he got permission. The headmaster had already given up on trying to control him and basically said he knew the kid was going to do whatever he wanted and bring those girls regardless of what he said. So our boy finally admitted that it was hard to explain. The only thing he could say for sure was that he wasn't behind the blood banquet. The headmaster asked if he was really sure, and our guy said he honestly didn't get it. Like, why would someone as honest and humble as him do something like that? The headmaster just said, fine, and told him to get back to class already. So yeah, the talk kind of worked out. What he didn't expect, though, was how that guy would feel once he found out the whole blood banquet mess was actually because of his own grandson. But honestly, it probably wasn't just Lunel's doing. That guy's not smart enough to plan something like this all on his own. Of course, that bastard Eshel had to be behind most of the plotting. And Boris, he was the one who carried it all out. That's always how they operated. Right then, he saw that buffed-up dude from earlier busting out 1,287 push-ups like it was nothing. He already knows something's coming, and right then the bastard stands up saying the time has come for him and Cyan to fight it out once and for all, to see who's really the strongest. The door slams shut, and our boy walks into his room. Seriously, that bastard does train every single day, always pushing for it. But Shan's not in the mood for any of that right now. Then suddenly, he trips over a hand on the floor. He looks down, and damn, it's his own servant lying there looking dead. He jumps back in shock, and that's when Emily shows up. He wants to know what happened to the guy. Eating her totally normal but horrifying food, she says she has no idea. He ate that delicious little cookie and passed right out. Maybe Xian wants one too. Right away he shouts, "Emily, you damn lunatic, you are never cooking for poor Brian ever again." Then he flops down onto the couch, already stressed out about what's coming in their future. That's when he notices a letter. He decides to take a look, thinking it might be from Lunav. But right at that moment, someone walks in asking who he is, and boom, it's her. She shows up wanting to know how he's doing, and tells him she ran away from home. The scene cuts to some sewers, some underground tunnels, where a group of people are talking about how the association's guards will be showing up soon. One guy tells the other not to worry, but the older one reminds him not to forget. This was the only way to put an end to the source of the Rainriver bloodline. And damn, this girl's got quite a mouth on her, and it's not just sharp, it's loud too. She says she's not that concerned. The old man tells her she better not be, since she's his student. Oh boy, that's her. Nella Aronis, the super cruel instructor. And she says she's not dumb enough to feel bad for that monster. Then she tells the group she's going on ahead, since their comrades should have already captured Lunav by now. The old man leans forward and prays for glory to the kingdom of Garan. Meanwhile, there's our boy sitting down for a quiet little dinner with a troublesome one, who's teasing him, saying she didn't expect him to be such a bold and aggressive little guy. As soon as she arrived, he just grabbed her arm and dragged her off. He shoots back that there should have been a magic barrier cast on the dormitory doors, right? So how'd she even get in? Lunav explains that it was simple. She analyzed the barrier with her mana and disabled it. He's thinking to himself, that's not simple at all. That's insanely powerful. Magic is crazy complicated. You can't just glance at a barrier and break it like that. Then Lunav asks if he read the letter. He says no, She walked in right before he could. She replies that she came in person because she couldn't wait for his answer. And right away, San wants to know, was it Ridgens who got her into this situation? She doesn't answer. He pushes again, asking if that guy was the one who told her to reach out to him. That's when she lowers her head and says yes. At first, that was the only reason, but not anymore. Even so, she knows that in the end, it's up to him to decide whether to trust her or not. Sian says, I don't trust people that easily. So what are your intentions? Lunav says there have been some strange things going on at the association. 2 dragons they were in contact with vanished without a trace somewhere near the Luan region, and people who used to smuggle certain items around the world found dead. She thinks Xian is involved in all of this. At first it was just a weird hunch, but now she's certain. Xian had no idea the association was in contact with dragons, and since there's no more hiding it, he says fine, he just wants to know what she plans to do now. Out of nowhere, she says she's going to die soon. He may have helped her, but even so, she knows her own body way too well. Unfortunately, it had already reached the point where there's no fixing it. Still, thanks to him, she got 3 extra years of life. Xian says none of this makes sense. Why is she so calm? Why isn't the thought of dying so soon getting to her? She just smiles and says it's okay, as long as she can feel something. Xian's losing it. He stands up and says none of this is his problem anyway. She should get back to her room and he's already on his way out. She asks why and just says he doesn't want to get involved in that kind of situation. She just waves goodbye and says she'll see him later. And just like that, he's gone. Even Karim asks if it's really okay to leave the girl there like that. But Xian's certain it's the best thing to do. The Garan Association had been keeping an eye on them for a while now. And sure enough, Lunav says she thought her escape plan had been solid. Turns out they showed up way earlier than she expected. That blonde guy calls out to her right away, telling her it's time to go. Mr. Ridgens is looking for her. She doesn't react and the guy asks what's wrong. She looks at him and says that usually it's Victor who comes to get her. So who is he supposed to be? He says Victor's busy today and that's why he came instead. They're from the 6th security branch. But Lunav isn't having it. She calls him out saying she was lying. There's no Victor. Then boom, she uses a wind skill and bolts trying to figure out who these extremists are that came to snatch her up in broad daylight. But before she can get away, someone hits her straight in the face with a sleep spell. Instantly, she collapses. Someone mutters that they didn't think it'd be that easy. The bald guy says they were discovered quickly, but it doesn't matter. They'll just toss her in a carriage and be done with it. Meanwhile, Karim senses something and says she feels a fight coming from that area. That makes Xian suspicious. Weren't those guys from Garan? Why would there be a fight going on if Lunav seemed to be going along with it? Scene cuts to the carriage now arriving at some kind of church at night. The bald guy says he's brought Lunav Rainriver. Someone seated on a pew says she's a poor child, used as a test subject her entire life, and now they're just throwing her away like garbage. The seductive, sinister, Professor Nella is right there and says they'll be using the girl for a far more noble purpose than her own life. But the guys from the carriage are noticing a strange mist gathering under their feet. Everyone's getting tense when suddenly, slash. The first one gets cut, like a flurry of arrows, but it's actually glowing slashes flying through the shadows. The weird-looking guy, whoever he is trying to figure out what's going on. He looks behind him. Guess who's there? Xian. Right at his back. The bald guy hears the screams and Nella immediately realizes they got another guest. She tells Ralph to show them what happens to anyone who gets in their way. Ralph, the bald one, steps forward and says he'll silence them all. Outside, Karim comments that it went way smoother than she expected. But Xian says nah, this won't be quick. There are much stronger people inside that cathedral. Then Ralph shows up from a distance and says Xian's not bad for a kid. But is he really alone? Xian answers that he is. Not like that guy seems to be though. Right then, the bald guy launches an attack. Xian notices his energy is similar to Lunav's, but even more unstable. Ralph declares he doesn't need anyone's help to beat a child. Meanwhile, Nella shows up and asks if Ralph's finished. But her expression changes right away. There he is, her guy lying on the ground face first, completely wrecked. Xian just asks if the last one has arrived. But first, he wants to know why they're trying to take Lunav. That crazy professor says you won't charm any girls interrogating them like that. But Xian's already focused. He noticed her first attack had a unique blend of elements. This woman probably had something similar to Lunav's abilities. Then comes a lightning bolt wrapped in flames, but he dodges it just in time. The important thing is he's found the perfect person to interrogate. She's trying to figure out how he's deflecting all her attacks with just a dagger. But in the blink of an eye, he's already in her face and says, "Got you." But that sly little thing used an aerial jump and put some distance between them. Realizing the kid was dangerous, she knew she couldn't leave him alive. She immediately tried to fire off a charge blast at his back, but Karim, watching closely, saw it and said she'd gotten distracted. That's when Karim grabbed her by the shoulder. The spell still tried to activate, but it missed. The blast tore through the ground, the church, everything, and Xian realized she had a ton of mana. Now she was immobilized, but still saying she wouldn't reveal anything. Karim told her to stop struggling. No human could break through a heart-bound restriction like that. Then Xian stepped closer and told her to just spill it already. Who gave the order to kidnap Lunav? And how many of you are still out there? Nella just laughed and said he was a funny kid, because he'd be finding all that out real soon. They were all coming for him, and they'd meet again in hell. She was putting on that whole dramatic act, but Karen was right there calmly pointing out that this was just the reaction caused by a heart restriction. Shen already knew what that meant. An artifact that kept the user's mana sealed in the heart. That's why she couldn't transfer mana through her body. Now he was sure Lunav had something similar going on. While the woman was trying to figure out how they figured all that out without her saying a word, Shen made a comment. This twisted organization running these experiments, they saw it as the path to evolution. That made her shift completely. Now she wanted to know who he was to know all that. He said she could figure that out for herself in hell. She started begging, saying she couldn't die like this, but too late. Boom, right to the gut. In his past life, Shan had found documents in a Garen lab. One's describing how to use a certain artifact called the heart restriction, and how it was used to control different experiments. He also knew how to destroy the item when it failed to work. Now with it in his hands, he could tell it was still active. Karam asked what he was going to do with it, and he just told her to take Lunav out of the carriage. Told her to obey, otherwise he'd have to take control of her by force. The student noticed, yeah, this guy's little weapon here was getting way too disobedient. Still, she laid the girl down. And here he goes pulling some crazy moves, saying he's never tried this before, but in theory, it should work. He shatters the crystal, presses it to her chest, and says if she's got something like that embedded in her heart, then this should be able to destroy it. The girl starts glowing, and from the looks of it, the sun's already rising. She opens her eyes, but hold up, we're in the next chapter now. Watching the sunrise, she wonders what that sensation was. Her body felt light, like everything had been restored. Not to mention, she could feel Shan's mana more clearly than ever before. Over on the balcony, looking cool as ever, Karam wants to know what he's planning to do. He says he figured he might be able to use her again for a future plan, so it'd be a waste to just kill her like that. But Karam calls that what it is, charity. And what if she betrays him later? Shan laughs, saying it's funny hearing that coming from her. She says yeah, she knows his body's going to be hers eventually, which is why she wants him to take better care of it. He tells her to quit the act and says they should just get going already. There's nothing good left there. Elsewhere, Selma slams her hand on the table, saying she doesn't remember anything after being kidnapped. But how did she end up there? Lunav insists she's telling the truth. She doesn't know what happened. But the guy ain't having it. Slams the table again and says there's no way he's buying that. The kingdom's in chaos because of that blood banquet, and she's just sitting there all calm. The butler steps in and apologizes to Mr. Regents, saying it was his fault. He should have summoned her earlier. But Regents tells him no, it's not his fault. It's hers for acting on her own. He's trying his best, and his damn granddaughter just keeps making everything worse. And just when he thought he was going easy on the butler, nope, he lights his own arm on fire, saying he knew all along the man had betrayed them. And from the looks of it, the guy had been trying to hurt his granddaughter too. The poor butler tries to beg, saying it's all a misunderstanding, that he just wants to explain. But Regent simply responds that just hearing him talk is sickening, that it makes the guy's body in flames and blows him up. Yeah, this guy is not right in the head. Started out all calm and proper, then stood up and just blew the man to pieces. Lunav stands there, hand over her mouth in shock, while Regents coldly says that man was one of the people who ordered her kidnapping, and now he wants to know, what has she learned about Cien Verde? Lunav realizes he's asking that even though he already knows the answer. Still, she decides to stick to her line. She says she didn't learn anything special. He steps closer, asking what exactly she means by nothing special. She says she was late, ended up meeting with him, tried to talk, but yeah, just like she said, she didn't learn anything unusual. Then he puts his hand on her shoulder, cue the dread, and says that's not the answer she was supposed to give. She better tell them right now what that boy is hiding. He's a Verge. Regents is sure something's not right, or someone is helping him. Lunav stares him down and says the boy only has a guardian knight and a useless maid. There's nothing linking him to the accident, so why is Regents so obsessed? He slaps the table and demands to know why she's asking questions now. She shouldn't be questioning him. She's a Rain River, born to obey. And in this house, she only does what he says. Then he turns away and tells her to disappear if she doesn't have a proper answer, but at the same time, she's not allowed to leave the castle. Looking at the chart of old man on the floor, Lunav can only think she's had enough of this. Enough of this family. Back at Leuven Academy, the musclehead is still passed out by the door. Our boy's just trying to get back to his room. But nope, that guy's always there. So he decides to wander off and stretch his legs. That's when he hears a group talking about how classes were canceled. He looks over, not really understanding what the conversation's about. Turns out the word going around is that a professor, Nella Aronis, has disappeared. And right on cue, Sirika shows up asking if he was the one who killed the magic instructor. Poor guy stammers, no, it wasn't me. I don't even know her. Who is that? She tells him of course he doesn't. He never goes to class. But Nella was a highly skilled mage from the kingdom of Garen. There were rumors that she was against Regents of Rain River, which is why everyone had their eyes on her. But no one expected her to go as far as kidnapping Lunav. They were planning to intervene, but she took care of everything herself before they could act. And now it hits Xian. Yep, he did kill that woman. Sirika tells him to relax. She's the only one who knows. so she's giving him an assignment outside the academy, just so he can lay low for a while. He asks who's going to replace that professor. She says for now, they'll have to take turns covering her classes. They'll need a powerful mage to fill that position. The job opening is already being posted. Scene shifts to an open field. Someone says they love that view. An older guy asks what he's doing all the way out here. The man replies that there's a job he wants, and he heard the position just became available. Wait a minute. Hold up. It's been so long I nearly forgot. But isn't this the guy who slashed our boy back in the very beginning? That's right. It's Boris. Now I remember. Meanwhile, Emily's face is on the floor, saying she's bored out of her mind. But here comes Karam walking in all smug, telling her to get up. That spot belongs to her. Emily fires back, no way. This dorm belongs to Master. I'm staying right here. Nothing here is yours. When Sian walks in, he finds Emily with 2 giant lumps on her head, clearly been beaten up. He just calls out to Karam to hurry up. They've got a mission. Emily wants to come too, of course, but nope. Sian tells her no, he's got something even more important for her. She's got to make sure Nana doesn't go hungry. Emily's about to say that it's not important at all. Clearly, he's just trying to avoid her. But too late, he's already gone. That's when she suddenly remembers, if that girl goes hungry, she'll transform. Right as she opens the door, boom, one of those horrifying cupcakes smacks her right in the face. Good thing she actually likes that kind of stuff. Emily tells the boy not to worry. She'll take care of everything. Our boy shows up again and says, yep, he believes in her. Good luck with that. He just asks her, please never feed Brian again. The poor guy's still taking forever to recover. Then Karam wants to know, where are they heading this time? He says it's southeast of the Yuzif Empire, a region known as Lambaster, a place ruled by crime, money, and violence. Real family-friendly spot, of course. Cut to a bunch of guys making bets, shouting not to disappoint. Classic underground UFC vibes. Everyone's hyped for Zelward to crush the other guy. One long-haired dude says he's up against a monster, and the massive brute just wants to know, how exactly should he kill him? The bastard crouches down and says this'll just be a warm-up pig style. Then the freak blasts the ground, the guy tries to dodge, but gets caught midair and yeah, looks like he's about to be devoured. He's getting crushed completely. Someone shouts that Saber lost. And yeah, looks like the guy straight up got blown to pieces. Damn, what a brutal ring. The city's crawling with drunks and criminals. Even Karam says the place is disgusting. Shan explains that the Luan region is neutral thanks to an agreement between nations, but this place is unofficially impartial and completely lawless. Karam's about to ask what that even means when suddenly a trio of creeps shows up, telling her she should have fun with them instead of hanging around some kid. They call her Miss and she's confused, like are they talking to her? The deranged one, not remotely subtle, says she won't be able to handle it because they're too hard. He also tells the kid to get lost. And Shan, hearing this mess of nonsense, doesn't even blink. Keeps it humble and just beats the crap out of all 3. Leaves them laid out on the ground. Honestly, I thought he'd just start killing folks. He tosses a bag of money on the table. Best room you've got. The girl at the counter wants to know how old this kid is to be dragging women around like that, but he just tells her to hand over the room key and quit whining. She's all flustered and just welcomes them in. Up in a room, looking out the window, he notices a certain crowd starting to gather, which means it's time for him to make his move too. He heads downstairs and asks someone if she's Lisa. The girl confirms and welcomes him, asking how she can help. He says he's interested in using the cage. She says she understands, but new customers don't have access. He stares her down, asking if she's sure, because he knows full well these scumbags are selling drugs in there. Then he asks what happened to all the other customers. Is he the only newbie? She glares at him, and he can feel the killing intent. But suddenly, she backs off and apologizes, saying she's just doing her job. Shan laughs, thinking she's an interesting one, wondering why she's being so cautious. Out of nowhere, the girl whips out some daggers and lunges straight at him. He's having fun with it. Ducks, deflects her attack with a coin. She's in total disbelief that this killing intent she felt is coming from this kid. He says she's a difficult woman, and that she just wrecked his gold coin. She apologizes, but he still wants to know. Why did she attack him? Girl's straight up bipolar, says she didn't want to attack him. But he replies that he's not happy. She's going to have to take responsibility for that. She gives up, realizes it's better to just show the kid the way and get him off her back. She hands over a license, a VIP badge, and tells him to go straight in from there. Only special clients get that kind of pass. It's basically his safety net now. Even though she doesn't really understand why he's so fixated on visiting the cage. He really shouldn't go down there unless he's got a bunch of extra lives saved up. But hey, if he wants it that bad, good luck. Shin obviously has things to deal with, and he says he's never gonna forget how she tried to threaten him. Karam wants to know why he didn't just make that woman bring the owner of the place. The letter's instructions were to bring a woman known as Linz Halaf. Here comes another goth villain we're totally here for. He explains that she's extremely secretive, and she's the owner of this place, but tracking down any real info on her is nearly impossible. Karam wants to know why they were given such vague instructions. Shan shrugs, says the only way to find out is to head down those stairs and see what happens. He'd been to this city a few times in his past life, at least before this place collapsed during the Civil War. She asks what exactly goes on in this place, and he just says she'll find out soon enough when she sees how things really work in the cage. Cut to a guy with a cigarette asking if he really got beat up by a kid. It's that creep who hit on Karam earlier. He says, yeah, it was some weird little kid came out of nowhere and wrecked everyone. The long-haired dude finds it strange. Why would a child be interested in the cage? The blonde says he has no clue. They did what they could to survive, and now they're just passing on whatever info they got. Then one of them stands up and asks if that boy is the son of some noble family. The bruised-up guy says he's not sure, but it felt like it, and begs Lord Gunther for help. Says he can't even show his face in public anymore because everyone's laughing at him. Gunther stands up and says this is getting interesting. Hell, look into what this kid's deal is. Scene cuts to the cage, and someone's catching a knee to the face while the crowd goes wild. Damn, looks like it's Buff Girl hour. From afar, Karam finally gets it. This is why the city's such a mess. Xian confirms it, says the place is always busy, because betting on fights is just one of those things people love. And that's exactly why they're here. Getting to Lin's and Howloff won't be easy, so they'll have to make her come to them. Karam's confused when suddenly someone yells at the kid, saying this ain't a place for children. Xian just smirks, says the timing's perfect, and goes straight to beating the crap out of them. First, a punch to the gut. Then Baldy shows up all wild, asking what's going on. Only to have Xian grab his buddy by the dreads and smash his face in. Well, at least the other guy doesn't have hair to grab. Xian calmly says he just wants to know where he signs up to start betting and fighting. On the stage, people are freaking out. There's no way the cage has fallen so low they let this kind of contestant in. This has to be a joke. But of course they're reacting like that because Xian just stepped into the arena. Then someone calls out to him saying he didn't expect a special event like this today. He looks fired up, can't wait to see how he's going to kill the kid. People on stage start whispering that the host must have lost his mind. This fight's way too one-sided. But the mustached guy, he says it's even better. Finally, they get to watch a kid get beat up. That's weirdly specific. The ogre charges in, saying the most fun way is to just crush him. He goes in to finish Xian off with one finger, but Xian already snaps the guy's finger and launches himself straight at his face. Hits him so hard in the nose it collapses inward, and the beast just drops to his knees. No, past his knees. Face plants into the dirt. Everyone's standing there, mouths wide open, trying to figure out what just happened. Looks like Simon of Lemia won. Yeah, he gave himself a nice little alias. Our boy explains he can't have his identity revealed in a place like this. Karam comments that it's kind of funny for someone who doesn't want to be exposed to go leaping into the middle of the stage, grabbing everyone's attention. But he tells her not to worry, he's got an active ability for exactly this kind of thing. He's got it covered. Right from the start, she knows this is probably the work of that hooded god, the one who hides his authority with a mask or whatever else. Basically, people can only see his true face if they directly greet or interact with him. Karam complains that this is getting boring and says she's going to sleep. But suddenly, someone up on the stage calls out to Simon de Lemmy. It's Gunther. He says he's accepting the challenge and tells him not to disappoint. The scene cuts back to the inn, where the girl at the front desk is trying to figure out what's going on. Then boom, one of the girls from the red light district steps in and gets straight to the point. She demands to know where that boy who stirred up the chaos is. She knows he's there, so they better hand him over now. The girl at the front desk says she has no idea what this crazy lady's talking about, but Delkia just warns her it's gonna get ugly if she makes her whole crew act. She better stay out of a problem that landed right on their turf. But the girl at the desk stands her ground, pulls out her little weapon, and says she won't tolerate any threats against her guests. That's when Delkia gives the order, everyone move in. And the front desk girl is still wondering what the heck that weird kid did to cause this much of a mess. Just then, Cyan shows up and calmly asks if they're looking for him. The girl's shocked. She didn't even notice him appear. He walks right up to the blonde and tells her to deal with him and to stop threatening the girl. But something weird happens. Delkia suddenly starts seeing him like he's some sort of prince, apologizing to her for being rude. He starts to explain that someone provoked him, but she grabs his hand and says it's fine. All she wants is his name. He tells her it's Simon, and she starts caressing his hand, saying the name's beautiful, though not as beautiful as his face. Meanwhile, the girl at the front desk is just frozen. This is a crime happening right in front of her. This boy is a minor. She immediately tells Xian to run, but he just says it's fine, he'll handle it. She tries to warn him he has no idea how dangerous that woman is. That's when Delkia pulls out a shiny little card and already halfway out the door, tells him that whenever he wants, he can come have a deep conversation with her. He looks at it, and sure enough, it says Delkia's room of pleasures. All desires welcome. She walks off and he realizes, yep, she's even crazier than he thought. But weirdly enough, she suddenly shows back up at the door and says that if it's him, she won't even charge. They're both just standing there like, what the hell just happened? And then Satin tears up the card. The receptionist stares at him and asks if he even heard what she warned him about earlier about not causing problems. He tries to apologize but says this city is full of lunatics. She says that's no surprise after the fights he's been in and the ones he's won. This kind of reaction was bound to happen. But you should know, he's not going to win that kind of fight in Delkia's room of pleasures. He just looks at the stairs and says he's not thinking about that fight, he's leaving. And just then, Another gothic villain-type woman appears, saying it's good Delkia backed off. The receptionist turns her head, and there's Linz Nihaloff, the owner of the cage. She tells the receptionist to stay close and keep an eye on that boy. The receptionist is okay. She'll treat him like any other VIP customer. But Linz isn't convinced, says she saw the girl giving the boy advice. The receptionist says it wasn't anything personal. It's just that he's a kid. Gunther suddenly steps in and says she's underestimating that boy way too much. This place is already falling apart, and maybe it's time for a full renovation. Lynn said she was the one who called Gunther there. The receptionist wants to know why. Lynn says it's because she wants her to arrange a fight between Simon and Gunther. That seems to hit a nerve. Apparently, this kind of match is forbidden because Gunther was kicked out of the cage a long time ago. But Gunther walks right up and says himself he wants a fight with Simon Nilemia. Scene shifts again to the red light district, where someone's shouting behind a door saying that this isn't what she wants. A couple guys are standing outside, one laughing and saying the girl would stop thinking about that kid. Another guy, hair all over the place, says it looks like she'll do whatever it takes to bring him over. The guy in red agrees. After all, she always gets what she wants. He just feels bad for the kid, honestly. Good thing they're a bit tougher and she doesn't seem all that interested, at least not right now. I thought there was something crazy going on in that room. It turns out she's just sitting there drawing. Looks like she's trying to remember his face, but can't. And then, yep, she loses it. Starts screaming, desperate, crying, demanding to know where that beautiful face went. It's like her mind is all fogged up, everything blurry. But somehow, that just makes her want him even more. Everyone loves the crazy girls, until the real crazy one shows up. And this one, she's way past the line. In this place, it's all alcohol, women, and gambling. That's how things run in the red light district of Lambaster. You can indulge in every kind of pleasure and ecstasy here. But our boy, he'd rather not get too close. He didn't expect to run into that woman, the one with some seriously questionable rumors floating around. While he's thinking about checking out the other parts of the city, someone bumps into him, knocking a bunch of books to the ground. He looks down and asks if she's okay. The little girl, looking all cute and nervous, apologizes politely. He finds it weird, doesn't get why she's apologizing so much. Wait, hang on. At first it looked like she was carrying a Bible or something, but no. It's a box full of cigarettes. He asks again if she's okay. She says yes and thanks him for his mercy. He tells her to cut that out, hands the box back, and asks if she's selling this stuff. She says yes, they're exotic cigarettes from the Grey Merchants Union, and asks if he wants to buy one. He says nah, he doesn't smoke. Still, something feels off. He's never even heard of this Grey Merchants Union. She explains that if she's lucky, she can sell all of them in the western alleys of the red light district tonight, then head home before sunrise. And just like that, our boy gets a little soft, can't help but feel bad. The girl clearly doesn't have an easy life. He pulls out a gold coin and asks if that's enough to buy everything. She finds it strange, asks why he wants them all if he doesn't even smoke. He shrugs and says, starting today, he's a smoker, then hands her a second coin. Her eyes sparkle, and she runs off all happy, thanking him like crazy. Of course, he just burns the cigarettes right away. Karen wants to know why he's doing charity now. He says that where she was heading, that's the city's trash dump area. He's gonna follow her. Karen wants to know why. He tells her, just keep watching. Meanwhile, the girl's already been thrown to the ground and the guys are demanding to know where she got those coins from. They're convinced she's lying about selling cigarettes. She must have done something awful to get that money. One of them's already itching for a fight, says he's been needing a way to blow off steam ever since that brat Simon pissed him off. The girl tries to explain she didn't steal anything, begs them to believe her. And right at that moment, guess who shows up right behind them? Shan, calmly asking why they don't believe her. A bunch of full-grown men robbing a little girl? That's pathetic. You'd think the guys would be afraid, but nope. They're mad that he came straight into their base by himself. They say this time they're not gonna let their guard down. Yeah, sure. They immediately get stomped. One guy takes a heel to the head. Another ends up in a leg lock, begging for mercy, swearing he'll never do it again. Shan tells him yeah, it's a leg, but he's really enjoying making this scumbag suffer. And yep, from the sound of it, he snapped the guy's leg. The dude's crying now. Shan picks up the coin and says this guy won't be talking anytime soon. Hands it back to the girl and tells her to be more careful. Don't let it fall again. And right then, guess who shows up? Gunther. He says this Simon kid is seriously impressive. Shin finds it odd. This guy shouldn't even know who he is. Not with that special item he's got equipped. But Gunther says he already figured it out. He must be Simon the Lemmy. Pleasure to meet you. The name's Gunther Lichtus, and he runs this whole district. Shan says it's actually great that Gunther showed up. He was about to question those guys, but they all passed out. Gunther looks over and says, yeah, those bastards are completely useless. The bearded guy starts to say something, but before he can finish, boom, Gunther blows his head up. Says that was his way of helping out. The little girl's shaking and Sand tells him that killing him wasn't really necessary. Gunther apologizes, but he's just excited. He just came back from a meeting with the owner of the cage and he's itching to fight the kid. And just like that, Sand realizes this guy knows Linz Nihaloff. Then boom, Shan's already launching a strike, but Gunther blocks the knee. Gunther's a little confused. How the hell does a scrawny 50-kilo kid have such a heavy hit? But hey, he wanted to fight. Let's go. He swings a punch and Saiyan flips over it. The hit still cracks the ground beneath them. That's when Saiyan figures it out. This guy's got some kind of strength enhancement. Gunther laughs, says there's no need to wait for the official match. They can have fun right now. Then he transforms, appears right in front of Xian, and says the kid's even better than expected. This is perfect. He just hopes the fun keeps going. Xian's starting to realize, yep, another full-on psycho in this city. And then bam, he takes a clean hit to the chest. Meanwhile, somewhere in the dimension of the Black Mist God, Sirika is practicing her dark powers. Someone comments that the mission she gave Xian is interesting. Apparently, the boy's not even on voters' list. He's not scolding her, but it's odd she's pulling a kid into something so personal. Sirika admits it. Yes, she won't deny it. Linz Vidhaloff is someone they were gonna have to eliminate eventually. She was just eager to see if Xian could really be trusted as his successor. The man says the boy might even end up turning out just like Linz herself. Sirika replies that they'll find out soon enough. After all, no one can predict the future. Back in Lambaster, Xian's still standing after that hit. Gunther's impressed. He's even happier now that he came looking for him. Time to keep going. He wants to see the boy really put on a show. Explosions echo across the city, the two of them throwing punches and clashing hard. Xian asks him straight up, what does he know about Linz? Gunther raises a brow. Surprised he's asking about her now in the middle of the fight. Tells him not to underestimate her and to focus. He fires off more attacks, but Xian keeps dodging. Still, he notices something strange. None of his strikes are doing any damage to the guy's arm. Gunther tells him, try blocking this, and sends a punch that leaves a massive crater in the middle of the city. Then he grins and says the kid's even better than expected. But he better bring it because they're just getting started. Karam calls out to Xian, asking if he wants her to step in. He says not yet, someone else is watching, and he wants to see that person show themselves. Suddenly, a set of throwing knives hit the ground right at Gunther's feet. Yep, we all know who that is. It's the front desk girl, and she's brought soldiers, saying Gunther can't just start a fight like this with one of her valued clients. Gunther yells that the brat attacked first, but nobody believes him. Xian notices something strange though. Those two already seem to know each other somehow. Gunther just says whatever, he's done for now. But his real fight is gonna be with that kid. As soon as Xian hops down, the front desk girl rushes over, asking if he's okay. Only problem? He's pissed. That guy had exactly the information he needed. It was the perfect opportunity, and she ruined it. She tries to explain he's a VIP. It's her job to protect him. He cuts her off and tells her to just say what she came here for. He knows she wouldn't come all the way out here without a reason. He already heard from Gunther that the guy requested a match with him, and he's willing to accept on one condition. They've got to give that little girl a job. Xian figured the condition would be something like, I want a meeting with Linz, but hey, feels like that's basically guaranteed at this point anyway. Meanwhile, in the city, rumors are already flying. Gunther Lictus is coming back to Cage, and apparently his fight will be against the Dilemma Ape, the one who wrecked that giant dude. The whole city's buzzing with gossip, and during the week leading up to the fight, Xian occasionally dropped by the cage just to beat up some poor guys. The place didn't have many rules. First, no weapons. Second, you stop if your opponent loses the will to fight. Third, don't kill your opponent. But today, the blonde guy steps up and announces that none of those rules apply. The owner of the cage gave both fighters permission to go all out. Xian's thrown off, and the announcer just confirms, yep, that's exactly what he heard. Only Xian hadn't been told anything about this. Gunther's already slipping on brass knuckles, saying he's been waiting for this fight all week. Shatton starts to argue that this isn't fair, but the ref has already vanished. Poof, gone. The fight's about to start. Off in the distance, Linz is watching with that cold, unreadable black lipstick look, saying she's curious to see what the powers of Simon de Lemia are really like. Gunther asks if no one told him it was a no-rules fight. Says whatever, just grab a weapon or something. But Shen just sighs, says he'll have to fight without one. He didn't bring any. And then boom, he starts summoning the red mist, saying he's got a plan in mind. Gunther grins, tells him to use as much magic as he wants. He was actually worried about accidentally killing the kid too fast. Shen's still a little off, saying, wait, this isn't a fight to the death, is it? But the lunatic just licks his lips and says Xian has no idea who he's dealing with. The moment he found out how good it felt to kill a human, he couldn't stop. Shen's face shifts. He gets it now. He knows exactly what kind of person Gunther is. Gunther says the first thing he's taking are those pretty eyes, and he lunges with a punch. Instantly, all the bets flip. Now that people know what kind of psycho he is, the odds shift. And right then, Xian draws Karam, slash, cuts Gunther's arm clean off. Gunther passes right by, but his arm doesn't come with him. It goes flying. He screams in pain, and everyone on the stage is left stunned. What just happened? The guy hits the ground, panicking, trying to figure out where his arm went, shouting that he'll never forgive Xian. But Xian just tells him to sit still. If he moves again, he will die right here. And Gunther says nothing. Everyone on the stage can tell, yeah, the guy just crapped himself. One chubby guy with a mustache seems to recognize the red mist and that strange mana. He's convinced this is a demonic sword. Shan's confused now. Why didn't anyone tell him this fight was rule-free? Why was he the only one kept in the dark? Maybe Lin's had something to do with it. The scene shifts again. Now the sweet little girl comes up with a drink for him, saying he was amazing. She's all smiles. Cheyenne thinks it's great she already got a job. She says the receptionist made her an assistant, at least for now. He notices her name is Lewis, pats her on the head and tells her to keep working hard.